what this does is actually it picks up the details of all the users, currently existing users in the database, and shows it to you. And it shows in the browser, and you can just test this like I just played this in Google Play, ran this in Google Play. It should now run and display all the users. So you see all the users from the database listed over here. But the next thing I would want to do is when the user logs in, you've seen the login page also. This is my login page, and this is the code basically. This is the login page. What happens is the user logs in, and what I've done in my code is basically to redirect once it is successful. Once the login is successful, then show the next page as the admin page, which is what I've configured over here. If the user exists, then show him a single page, a customer home page. I've changed this to something else, customer home, not the login page, and it looks like this. Congratulations for successful login. But what I would eventually want to do is, if it's a customer, then show him or her the customer's page. But if it's an administrator only, then show him this page, which is this page, because the customer should not see the list of all customers, right? So what I would like to do in the next exercise with you is to when I'm logging in, is to make sure if it's an administrator, then show him this page, and if it's not an administrator, then show him the customer's home page, which can be something else, what customers would do normally. So what I will do now, since you don't know how to create this, the admin page, let me create a new page again. Right click, go to add. I'll show this again to you. Add web form, and I say user list. This is basically same as this one, admin page, because I would want to do this again with you because you need a review, so I'll do this now. So I will, at this point, I need one thing, which is the grid, how to show the list of the users. As a heading, I will write over here user list, and I will actually make it bold, underline, style it the way I need. Heading 1 maybe, and then over here if I want to apply anything else like justification to the center, etc. So this is what you would be able to do, and the next thing I want is to paste the grid component over here, grid, grid view. If you press Ctrl Alt X on your keyboard, if you don't see this, this is the Windows keyboard. Ctrl Alt X to appear this. It will appear. Ctrl Alt X, the toolbox. Search for grid, grid, and copy and paste. Drag and drop the grid view component on your screen. Once you have this, notice this does not have data now. To link it up with your database, which is this database, the users table, what you have to do is you have to create a data source. To create a data source, click on this right arrow and come on this drop down list, click new data source. If you have created already any, you will have that in the list. Create new data source, pick this up from the database and give it a name. For example, customers, what is the name of this? Customers database. So you can have one data source for the database. You don't have to have new data source for every query. You're selecting, you're reading, you're writing, you're logging in, you're creating. One data source is enough. One data source is for one database, not just one table or one query. So that one database, you will see over here, I've created before another ones, which I'm not using now because I'm going to show you how to create new one. Create new connection. One data source has a connection. That connection is to a specific server. That specific server is a database server. It can be on your own computer, or it cannot, or it can be on some other computer on the network also. But since we have everything, all development environment in our own laptop ready now, so we don't like to be dependent upon external services while we are developing. So it is my own computer's SQL server. Now, if you don't see the drop-down list over here, the values, you will see some values. This is Raxi Amikbal. This is my computer's and exact SQL server's installation instance name. Now, if you're confused over here, sometimes it's not exactly your own computer. then you open your Visual your SQL Server Management Studio. Right click the top node. This is the top node. Right click, properties, and then you copy and paste the name, whatever is in the name. Copy and paste, including if there is some slash over here, slash, etc., whatever, which is the domain name. Just copy and paste whatever it is over here to this page, the server name. Just copy and paste this over here, and then you should see the list of database inside that server. So I have a list of database. For example, I have this sucker customers, which is spelled wrong anyway, so I can test connection. The connection is succeeded. Just make sure you leave the use Windows authentication over here, so that we don't use any extra username and password for the database. So now you have connected to the database. Click OK, and then select from here which one you would like to use. You'd like to use this connection. One second. Yes, when you click OK, you will see this suckle customers connection string sample registration. Now click next and give it a name for this data source connection string. So this is your connection string. This is the connection string for the data source. You can leave it as the same name as the data source also. It by default it comes like I'll make it shortcut SCDS sucker customers data source connection string, and you need to save that because you will use this in your programming. Next, and you can have the same as the one before the data source name. This asterisk means to click to pick up everything from the table. Which table? Users. I can select other tables also from the same database. There can be more tables in the database. So I have selected asterisk to select all the columns from the database. You can test the query and finish. Now what this will do, this grid is showing you everything from that database, all columns and all data. Since this is development, it is not picking up the actual data. When you run this, you will see it will pick up the data from the database. So you see now it has picked up everything and it's showing you the users list.asp. So now you know how to create this, right? I'll also upload this so you can have a later reference to this again. So the next thing I would want you to do is on the login page, you check as you have checked before in the registration. Let me just open the registration page. Sorry. Registration page. There is, while you click on the button, the registration button, you will come to this page, which is your C# code actually. It shows your C# code. In this button click, what you're first of all doing is you are checking if the user already exists. Because you see ultimately what happens is I have a user called here first user, and I also have user Murad, second user admin. But I've got 3 poles. This is wrong. There can be only one username with one user with a specific username. So later on, earlier I was allowing this. Now I actually created code to disallow this. It can be disallowed from the database also to ensure that it is unique. However, from the code also we need to learn how to do this. How to ensure there is only one user with a single username. For example, if I register with Shama and the Shama user is there, there should not be another user named Shama. So the user can select another name like Shama_01, Shama_02, but not the same user, Shama. So for this we have actually created this check. If you see, check if user exists, it's a separate method. This is that method, check if user exists. It returns a Boolean. If it exists, it means there is already a user with the same name, and it says true. It returns true over here. So if it exists, then the registration program, the server will not register. If it exists, you see this, if this is true, this username is already taken. Please take another one. So if you want to run this, I'll show this to you how also this works. In our database, let's see, there's a unique name called Murad. I'll try registering again with Murad, and I'll show you that what does it do when it encounters the same username, Murad. Email is Murad at this, and password is something. Country is UAE. And I try to submit now, and you should see that there is some error that it says this username is already taken, please select another one. So what if I try Paul now instead of this, and it would say again this username is already taken. What if I change this to Shama and I select submit, and it should now add that user, and you'll see it's here right now. So there are two things actually. One is when the user registers, that user has been added into the database, but the next screen, the list of all user names should be only shown to the admin if the user is an administrator. For that, there is a user type which I have actually created, the user type into the database, and that should be if he is an admin, then show all the pages, all the list of users. If he or she is not an admin, he's a student or he's manager, somebody else, then don't show this. Only administrator should see all the list of users. This is really what we want to do at the next step. However, what I just showed to you is duplicate username is not allowed. So you just saw Shama was created. Let me try creating Shama again. I submit, and now it won't create. Why? Because Shama already exists. You understand at this point, right? Up till here. You want to modify a program so that if it's an administrator, then it should be allowed to see the users list or the admin page. So because I've just created a new user list, I also have a duplicate admin page which has the same thing actually. So I'll just get rid of this admin page. So I'm removing my admin page. When you do that, make sure you're not running the code. Project is not running. Yes, I would like to delete this permanently because I have a new user list. It has the new user type also. So what I've done is actually I went back to my database. I right-clicked design users, and I went to design. In design, I added one more column over here called user type and varchar and allow nulls. At the moment, allow nulls. Though in actuality, it should not be allowing nulls. But for development purposes, I created a new user type. Data type is nvarchar 15, and then when I see my database values, I have an admin, and its user type is admin. I have written this manually. Admin is a user type which is admin, and the other users are just always not admin. They are clients. So I need to modify my program to make sure all the new clients, new customers, new users are clients. Okay. So that's all. The next thing I want to do is to implement this logic in my code. If he's an admin, show the user list. If he's a client, then show the page which is the customer's home. So come back to my code. That's what I'll do, and then go to the login, see the code, and say custom. If user exists, then I have to check if the user exists, that the user has successfully logged in, meaning his username and password is correct. Then the next thing I want to check is what type of the user there is. What type of the user? So in this code, within this, if I will check, I have to check the user type, meaning the user is authenticated already. The username and password is correct because I ran this query. If you can see this, select count asterisk from users. The username is what the user has written on the login page. This login page. This is username, and this is password. So I will check if the username and password is correct. This is slightly misplaced. Okay, and if it is correct, I would get to see this. This is my query. If the username, select count how many users. Normally it is one. It should always be one because we have disabled uh, creating duplicate users. Select count asterisk from users where user is this, whatever the username you have written, and the password is this, whatever the password you have written. If the database says yes, there is a user with this username and password, which means your user is now authenticated. This is the most basic level of authentication, and there is something in the user exists. If the user exists is greater than 0, it is 1 actually, then check. The next thing now I have to do is check user type. Previously I was just showing him or her the customer home page. I need to show him or her the admin page if he's an admin, or the customer home page if he or she is a client. That's what I need to do. So now I will say Boolean check user type, and I'll create a new method for this like I did over here, in the registration. Check if user exists, and created a new page and something like this. So I'll have to create something like this over here to ensure it is actually an admin or a customer. So this is what I will do. Check user type, check user type. The method name also I'll give the same. Yes. So the method name should be coming over here as check user type, and I'll create a new method over here. Okay. So it's a check which I have to create, check user type, and then a method has to be created with the same name. It should be outside this button one click, but within the same class. This is one class. This is one method, page load, and this is another method, button click. It should be outside these two, but inside this class, inside these brackets, but outside these. To do this, I'll just come here, press and enter, and create a code over here, a new method, protected void. Why void? Void is actually returning me nothing. So that's why we have over here button click void, page load void. It is returning nothing. But if you go to sample registration, you will see the methods which have also void and some more also, some more choices. Let me show this to you. This is void. This is Boolean. The return type is Boolean. It's not void. This return type of button click is void, not Boolean. So you have void when you don't want to send anything. Void is nothing. Send back nothing. This is send back Boolean. Boolean, is the data type which represents true or false, 0 or 1. So those are the examples. So it can return integer, it can return float, double, string, object, etc. Whatever you would like to return. But at this point, I also need Boolean. So I'll create a Boolean method. Boolean, and the method name I know is check user type. Check user type. So the check user type method declaration has been done, and then I have to return something at the end. So by default I'll return false. Why? Because nothing is found. But if something is found, then I'll actually return true. So what does that mean? It means, logically it means, if user is admin, return true, else return false. This is what I will do. If user is admin, return true, else return false. So this program will know over here it's a admin or it's a client. So check user type will have true if user is admin, and false if it's a client or some other type. Why we are doing this? Because we want to redirect the customer or the user to a correct place. Customer home.aspx if he's a client. Something else which is going to be Boolean check user type, and I'll do this. If check user type is true, meaning if this is true, if this is already Boolean, if it was true, it will evaluate to true. If it's false, it will evaluate to false. So there's no need to check over here if true is true or if true is false. If it's an admin, it will be true. Then redirect to the users list page. Redirect to the users list page, which is this page which I just created, user list. So when after a successful login, you will check if it's a admin user. If it's an administrator user, then check send to this page. Else, otherwise, send to the customer homepage. This customer homepage. That's what we have done. So now let's implement this because we have not implemented the query. Check user type. Make sure it's the same username method name. Check user type. What's the error over here? It's a variable, but it's used like a method. Okay, so I'll give it another name. Check user and check user actually. So the method and variable names cannot be same. We'll check user. So this check user will return true again if it's an admin, false if it's a customer or client. So now we need to do something which we have done before. So we'll just copy and paste this code, which is check the user exists, and create a query over here. Inside this method, create a query, and it should read something like this: SQL connection, SQL customer connection string, and let's use the same connection string. Basically, we've got two duplicate connection strings, different names but pointing to the same database. Let's use the one which we have just created now, and it looks like this. Configure data source scds connection string. Okay, let's use this one, scds connection string. I'll just disable this one and have this one, scds connection string. This is the one which I have just created with you. I was creating the users list page. So this is my new connection, and my query will change. My query will now be, before it was to check if the username already exists. Now it will be if the user is a administrator or a client. So to do that, let's go to my database and let's see what is the simple query. We'll later on change it to the code. So my query looks like this. Click on your users, go to the new query, and write over here, select. In the database, while you're writing the query, you have to write the complete, fully qualified database name. So it looks like this. So just write the database name, .dbo underscore users, db.users, sorry, users, select users. In the program, in the C#, you will write the select users only table name. Select users. So this is the table name. Select asterisk from users where, and the username, the column name is username, where username is equal to column name, where username is equal to, let's say, I'll say Murad. So I'll see all the details of Murad now. Murad, what's the email, ABCD is the password, country, gender, user type is client, he's not an admin. So by the way, the password should be hidden if we select over there as password, but this is for the development purposes. We selected this as clear text. So this is going to be client. Now if what I'm doing now is I am selecting everything, all details, but if I only want to select one type or one column of this user, then I'll say user type. Select user type from the whole table name where username is equal to Murad, and just save your query and run this. You will see the user type is client. Okay, so this is something which we have to actually convert into query and place in our database. And if it's a client, then display then return false. If it's an admin, then return true. That's what we need to do. So just copy this and paste this over here. I'll just disable this one. This is my query, and I need to turn this into something like this. Okay, and from select user type from users, where username is equal to this. So now this will return a user type. That user type I need to read and check if what is the value. If the value, because before it was just an integer, and now if it's I need to read the actual content of that. If it's a admin, then do something. If it's client, then do something else. So what I will do now, this is what I've done. I've changed the query to make sure it's the one which is coming from the database, and instead of integer, I've actually made it to a string, because previously it used to return to me how many users with the same name. If it's one, then the query, then it already exists. But now I have to read some value if it's an admin or it's a client. So if this is admin, then I need to run and see this. So in effect, what I've done is I will return true from here, and this method will be closed. It will not go down. This is wrong. I should actually close the connection. This is something which I have to do. Close the connection and return true. Okay. Else I come down. This is by default how it works. But since I'm returning true from here, it will never come to else and over here. So let's just remove else, because it will come out over here anyway, because there is returning from here. Return means khalas, this method is finished, go back. Go back where? Over here. Give it true or false, whatever, and then the sequence of execution will resume from here. So now, how will I change this? This query is actually counting how many users are, if the user existed already. So let me explain this to you again, what I changed. Instead of counting, I need to get the string from the database. If the user is client, if logged in as Murad or Paul or first user or second user client, or he or she is an admin. If the username logged in is admin, then he is an admin. If he or she is an admin, then he should be redirected to the users list page. So I'll change this to a string, because I need to read the string, and I'll read over here user type, and I'll remove this converting to the integer, because I don't need the conversion anymore. I just need to read the string coming from the query. Which query? This one. Select user type from users where username is this. So I'll get over here a result which can be only two things, either client or admin, according to my logic. So this is the string I'm going to get, and then in if I will say if user type is equal to, I'll just move this, is equal to admin, then return true. Yes, just close the connection which I just made with the database and return true. That yes, this is an admin, and yes, please, if you said yes, it's an admin, then redirect him or her to the user list. But if he is not an admin, then close the connection and say false. So if it is false, then go to the customers page. This is what I've done. So I just save this, and I'll then do one more thing. If you're not sure what are the values returning, then you can place a checkpoint, a breakpoint. Just place a breakpoint by clicking over here. You will see this breakpoint, and what will happen is actually the code will stop executing over here when it is running. It will come and show you what are all the values of the program over here which is running. So I'll just run this now. And you'll see that this is a login page coming up. Okay, the page is there. So okay, so first of all, I'll write the username which is not an admin. You see, now this is not an admin. Murad is a user who is a client. He's not an admin. When I log in, I should be redirected to the customers page. But it will stop over here because I placed a breakpoint. And at this breakpoint, because I just clicked over here, it's a point which will show you over here all the values of all the variables in this method. You'll see this, the value of this is asp.login, aspx, my connection is this value, query is this, command is this, and the user type which was returned from the database and I'm reading is client. So which means I've got the client. So you pause your program over here by placing this breakpoint. You continue. If you continue, go back to the page, or it will show you, take you automatically and say congratulations for successful login. However, go back. I'll now try to log in as the administrator. Admin. I'll write the password, and when you log in, again breakpoint. You see it's the user type returned as admin. Continue, and you will see you will now be presented with another page which is the list of users. Once you're sure your code is working, just remove the breakpoint. Just remove the breakpoint and run your code again. Admin, ABCD, and then log in. It will show you the admin page. If you just log in as another user, and then you will see there is actually another page. So this is how you show different pages according to the user type. Okay, so I hope you have learned something good today, and should see you in the next class. Thank you very much for watching.